Good evening everyone and welcome here tonight as we've got the GT3s running around Anderstorp, and I think it's going to be an absolutely amazing race tonight once more. We've seen a few rather good races on these Sunday night events on RaceRoom. I am sure that it's going to continue tonight. I'm hopeful that it will continue tonight because some of the battling that these drivers have had over the past 2 weeks that we've been here. I think we've been here for almost 2 months now doing these events. It's been absolute really close battling, some friendships and rivalries across on the track, and it continues to stay that way, and it continues to be an absolutely amazing event. So we are currently in qualifying. We're going to get up our info here, and there we go. So we're currently looking at Sven Dushman here in qualifying. We've got a number of what do you want to call it? A number of names that we understand, that we've seen, there you go, in past events, but a number of new ones as well. So Sven Dushman, we've seen him a little bit, but not too often, as we're now looking at Michael Wyatt. We've seen Wyatt a number of times. We also have Calvin White again, someone we've seen a lot in these events. Looking down the order then, continuing down near the rear of the field currently without a lap time, Daniel Chapp, Steve Legale, Roy Magnus, drivers that we see very often in these events, but maybe not so much at the front. Daniel Chappie is one of the drivers who normally get to the front of the field, but we'll hopefully see him at the front of the field at some point during this races. We're just waiting for him to put in a lap time. He seems to have disappeared from my live timing, actually. So Daniel Chapp may have some internet connection issues. No, he's in 21st. Okay. Just people putting in lap times in the top 8 at the moment. Top 9 now. As you can see, it's rather close between, that is Calvin White and Mark Keeble, second and third position. That is extremely close, about hundredths of a second between them. Going into fourth with Schmerz there, Alexander Anderson in fifth, but currently in the first on pole at the moment is Sven Dushman running around at the front, as a whole load of drivers just chucking lap times all about the same time there. As they all cross the line, as we got tonight 26 drivers heading out onto the field. We have a 45-minute race session tonight, a mandatory pit stop. So a pit stop will be required for all of our drivers as Michael Wyatt crosses the line, currently in 12th position. You see on the left-hand side, a lovely combination of different nationalities racing tonight. We've got British drivers, we've got drivers from Scandinavia, we've got drivers from France, we've got drivers from Spain, Portugal, United States of America. It's a whole load of different nationalities getting onto the track, and that's what I absolutely love about these races. You do have people from all around the globe racing. We've actually also got lovely Sean Jacobs racing tonight as well. He's in the Ford GT car. He's currently without a lap time, but he's all the way from Australia, so he's getting involved in this this event, making it a whole global event. USA, EU and Australian drivers. As we're currently looking at Jazz Forsberg, 4th position at the moment, but knocked down to 5th as fellow countryman Alex Schmerz goes ahead and into 4th. But will Jazz be able to improve? It definitely looks like a stronger lap time. He does, and he just outdoes his fellow Frenchman of Alex Schmerz, currently now knocked down to 5th. If we go back to look at Michael Wyatt here, he's running his fastest lap so far. He was doing that last time though. Will he be able to hold it together in the final sector? It's actually very difficult, that final sector, but he seems to have pulled that McLaren through slightly over the apex, coming up to the line. And it looks like it's going to be about the same lap time for Michael Wyatt. He heads back on the lap. Ross Garland coming into the final sector now. Flicking his Mercedes around. Coming up to the line. Will it be an improvement for Ross Garland? Yes, it is. And it puts him in front of Michael Wyatt there into P number 12. Looking at the Corvette of Mark Keeble, currently in third position, rather close to Calvin White, looking for second position and a front row start in tonight's event. Qualifying is going to mean quite a lot here at Anderstorp. It's rather tight circuit, apart from the main straight, which is run along an airstrip. Apart from that main straight, it's a very tight circuit. There's not much room to overtake through the inside. We're definitely going to see some overtakes be done, mainly into the final turn if you can get it up that inside, but it's going to be difficult with the long right-hander beforehand. Then after this long straight, Michael Fiala is coming to demonstrate here if Auto Director keeps it on Martin Fiala. No, it doesn't, but that is one of the major overtaking locations at the end of that long straight. Same with this right-hander here, the cambered right-hander, and the left-hander following that Calvin White's going to hopefully drive around. And there he goes. To the left-hander, running a lot of camber there. Absolutely fantastic, that corner. It goes slightly over the apex. Wobbles the car just that little bit, but gets it back going. But he is now running slightly slower. Mark Keeble was able to get past White and into second in the standings of this qualifying session. Calvin White down to third, looking for a way back through. He's got to gain, though, 2.5 tenths of a second through the final corner. Very wide line there, and then the rear end kicks out, and that's going to be end of Calvin White's attempt on that run. Jesus Montesinos Jr. is running in P number 12 at the moment, and he's running his fastest lap so far, heading up to the long right hand, and look how much he's pushing that roof. Absolutely fantastic as he keeps it tight as he can into the final corner. What's his line there? Perfect line, low lock up, onto the apex, not running it over. Actually, a really nice, smooth final sector from what we saw, and that's improved him a lot up to P number 9, and then he spins it. Oh, that's a real shame, but up to P number 9 there for Jesus Montesinos Jr. Ovind Andersson is in 19th position near the rear of the field. It's about 5 seconds separating the entire field so far. 24 drivers have put in lap times. 25 drivers now have put in lap times. 26 sit in the server. Pietro Blasisak is the final driver not to put in a lap time at the moment. He's in the Mercedes. And I actually find that quite surprising because he was one of the faster drivers in practice. So will he come in the final stages of the qualifying session and go straight out into pole? I don't know, but we've had an unfortunate disconnect, and Blasisak, a very slow lap time there. A very slow lap time indeed, a 136.1. Sean Jacobs was the fastest first sector as he comes now through turn number 3, hangs it out wide. Sorry, turn number 4. He hangs it out wide, runs it through, pushing that Ford GT to the limit, but amazing by Jacob at the moment, sitting in 4th position. Now through that left-hander, the massively banked corner. I love the look of it. So now heads up towards the final sector, but you've still got one more corner before that, before the long right-hander where it can all be lost. I've lost it there multiple times, getting too much of the apex and just not able to hold it to the apex tight enough. Jacobs runs it nice and fast, gets to the second part of the corner, tapping the brakes, keeps it in nice and tight. Will he be able to keep it there for the final corner? He does. A little bit of lock-up. It's not a fastest second sector, but it is rather fast. Oh, across the line. Will it be an improvement? It is. Into second position goes Sean Jacobs. An amazing lap time, a 128.611. Jeremy Brewer then sitting in 22nd position, looking to improve slightly on his Corvette's lap time. He's running currently fastest in the first 2 sectors. And now up to the final corner. He keeps it in tight, and now heading into that final corner. No lock-up. Rather smooth. That Corvette looking rather smooth, but no! Spinning it mid-corner, and unfortunately that's not going to be enough. Daniel Trapp, one of the drivers we see normally near the front of the field in RaceRoom, and a rather experienced RaceRoom member indeed. Currently in 13th position, and quite heavy damage on the right-hand side of that BMW's bonnet. Oh, sorry, that is not a BMW, that is now a Pioneer. Sorry, my mistake there. This is running now up to the final slot, so it's an improvement on his current lap time. He's currently 1.796 seconds off of your pole sitter. It's a 1:30.150, his fastest lap. So far, it looks like it could be a strong improvement. Improvement by just 1 second will get him into 4th. Do the final corner, really smooth in the Alpina. Because it's a line, it moves him up into 10th. That's still half a second improved there by Daniel Trapp as he heads through the first sector, the first corner, sorry. Roy Magnus having some issues coming out of the final corner. He now crosses the line, and that is unfortunately not a fast enough lap time to do an improvement. Definitely looks like some issue though, as here is Pietro Blasesak. I'm sure I saw him at the front during practice. That may have only been when there were maybe 5 or 6 drivers in practice. But he's running in 25th at the moment. But it looks like a slight improvement at the moment. He might be able to close that 7.8 second gap. Definitely some issues out of that final corner. Maybe running as smooth as he can. And now through into turn number 1. Pietro Blasesak running as smooth as he can, trying to just really learn the lines and not push too hard. Jesus Montesinos Jr. is continuing to push though in his rough as he comes through the penultimate corner, having it rather wide, and that means he's going to have a tight line into the final corner, but somehow he gets it turned in perfectly. A little bit over the apex though, and crossing the line. Will it be an improvement? It will not, only just, and then he sends it completely off at turn number 1. Martin Fiala though coming out of the final corner. He's going to be going on to finish a lap, sorry, and that's not going to be an improvement, only just. He currently sits in 19th position. Martin Fiala got his first podium with race department on Monday, and that was with the NSUs, and that was here at Anderstorp, the short circuit. So he's looking to maybe get a top 10 and run a rather clean race tonight. Sean Jacobs once again a fastest first sector. And in the second sector though, he's dropped off a little bit, not his fastest, and a little bit too much apex there. Coming up to now the final corner, sucking in as much as it can. We're into the final 2 minutes of the session. I'm not expecting too many more position changes, and because of how crazy the qualifying results get at the end of a session, we're going to go and have a little look at them now. So, Sven Dushman currently on pole, and I believe that's the way it is going to finish. Sean Jacobs qualified second, followed by Mark Keeble and Calvin White rounding out your second row of the grid. Lars Johansson in 5th, followed by Stephen Cameron in 6th. The first driver is second down. Alex Schmertz qualified in 7th, followed by fellow countryman Jazz Forsberg. Alexander Anderson qualified in 9th, with Daniel Trapp running out your top 10. He's then followed by Ross Garland and Jesus Montesino Jr. on row number 6. Just behind that on row number 7 is Magnus Sternbury and Nicholas Gregory. Steve Legale and Michael Watts sign up on the grid in 15th and 16th position respectively, and Jose Miranda and Tony Versity in 17th and 18th. On the 10th row of the grid is Lolo Sacco and Roy Magnus, followed by Martin Fiala, Ovind Anderson, Jeremy Brewer and Daniel Nito on your 11th and 12th row. And then on the rear at the rear of the grid, respectively in 25th and 26th position, is Michael Sandor and Pietro Blasesak. So it looks like it's going to be a very nice race indeed as we're coming into the final few moments of qualifying. 45 seconds. Coming through then the final corner, and oh, just again getting it wrong there. A few of our drivers, we've got 30 seconds to go. Don't think we're going to see many changes anymore, but we're going to get the standings up just in case there are any changes. We can hopefully take note of them moving on the left hand side. But with only 19 seconds to go, drivers will probably only have 1 more minute to get in a lap time. There is a change there. There is a change. Steve Kenwood has moved up to 5th past Lars Johansson. for P number 5 in his Corvette. That means Johansson moves it down in the BMW to P number 6, unfortunately for him. Coming up to the line though, the session is over. We are at a close to qualifying. We have 6 drivers remaining on the grid, but on the track, sorry, Sean Jacobs now out. We're looking at Alexander Anderson, Alex Schmerz still out, Steve Legale still out, Tony Versity and Magno Sande all still out at the moment, just finishing their current laps. And that is going to be the end of the qualifying session, as we're almost ready for the race. We're going to get rid of all this stupid stuff because it just ruins it. But anyway, as we're having a lovely look here at Magno Sande's clipping of many other cars, as he gets onto the grid now. So waiting for it to display everyone, 33 seconds. You see everyone's now onto the track pretty much, so we're almost going to be going green. At which point we can have a look at everyone head into turn number 1. It's an extremely tight turn. We've got over 20 cars, 26 I think it was, 25 sorry. And here we go, we're about to get going. 26 cars have joined the session for the start of tonight's race. The lights are there on the right hand side. And they're green and we are away for 45 minutes of racing. And Deutschmann gets a lovely start off the front row of the grid as they continue going almost 3 wide in the background. They start to get it all sorted though, heading up to the main run. But no, Magno Sande is off the track already. Sande is not going to like that at all, Sandoy. And he's already off. But up front there's drivers running side by side already for your opening positions. But it remains relatively clean. A few bumps and scrapes, but all our drivers currently facing the correct direction. In a very tight circuit like this, that is an incredible feat. Oh, as that was Magno Sande actually running off the track a little bit there. We've got a Camaro moving to his inside. That's Nicholas Gregory. He can't quite do anything because they head through the long right-hander. Deutschmann has been able to pull a gap on Sean Jacobs already. Jacobs actually already been able to move up to second. But here goes Sternbury, up the inside of Ross Garland. Garland runs it really wide there. He's going to lose the position and a little bit of time too. Jose Paul Miranda runs off the circuit. Now he's got Steve Legale looking up his inside. Steve backs out though, a gentleman driver. He's not going to go for that move. Got Tony Versity trying to get around the outside there possibly as well. But now it looks really clean actually. A really good start for all our drivers. Even though Magno Sande actually ran off at turn number 1, he's still within 6 seconds of Martin Fraiela, so it's still recoverable. And at the moment there's a spin through the final corner. There's a huge accident in the final corner. That is a real shame. 6 cars I think collected the tightest corner on the circuit. Unfortunately, yes, there's about 5 cars involved, including Michael Wyatt, Lolo Stracco, Jeremy Brewer, Tony Versity and Roy Magnus. But up front, we've still got really close battles. Sternbury looking up the inside of Jesus Montesino Jr. Can't quite make the move. There's contact and no, that's going to be Montesino off. He spun somehow. There was definite. I heard a little bit of contact. The car bumped and he just ran around. It's a real shame for Montesino Jr. He's going to go back onto the circuit now. Another new name that I've not heard before in tonight's event. Looking up front though, Mark Keeble looking to recover his rather poor start where he lost it to Sean Jacobs. No, sorry, Jacobs started in second, so that's a really good start for Mark Keeble to keep it with Jacobs. But Sven Deutschmann, an amazing start, has already been able to pull a 2-second lead ahead of the rest of the field. That's absolutely fantastic. Just trying to see about battles all down your field at the moment. We've got a number of cars chasing down Ross Garland. You've got Nicholas Gregory right behind. You've got Ovind Anderson just behind that, followed by Jose Paul Miranda, Steve Legale, Daniel Nito. All rather close here. It continues to remain close, but through on the exit of the final corner, Mark Keeble has been able to get right onto the rear of Sean Jacobs, and we may be able to see an overtake for the second position in this race. So that looks like it's going to be rather close. Daniel Chatlow also looking for a move, and that's past Steve Kenwood. But he's now right on the rear. Is he going to go to the left-hand side? He does. He's on the left-hand side now of Jazz Forsberg. Two drivers know each other rather well. Daniel's going to have to back out. He's not going to really risk his friendship with Jazz over a small little incident. But we have actually, no. Jazz is actually off. That was not Jazz he was battling with. That was Alex Schmerz. That was Alex Schmerz, because Jazz has come off at that main corner. One of the biggest overtaking locations, and he's come off. That's a real shame. Maybe a little bit of late braking. I'm not too sure. Sunday actually doing a nice recovery here. He's already up into P19. Vlasisak though, he's side by side of the inside of Martin Fiala. Fiala, like I said, got his first ever podium with Race Department on Monday. Just Monday gone, so he's looking to get a nice position here. Currently in 16th on the grid. Vlasisak chasing down Martin Fiala though for that position. Lars Johansson, he's chasing down Calvin White, and that's for P number 5. So that's looking for a top 5. He's gone for the inside on the final corner, but he loses a little bit of time. That's a driver completely off. That's Daniel Trapp, completely off and around on the exit of the final turn. He's got it back onto the circuit. That's going to be a lot of time lost. Daniel Trapp outside of the top 10, down to P number 11. Looking at the battles that are going on. Stacco, he is in the Audi, chasing down the McLaren of Michael Wyatt in 19th. Rather close. 5 minutes down though, and we've had limited number of contact. Actually, I think most drivers are now starting to sort themselves out and get into their sort of battles. Continue down then along the main straight. We're going to go run on board Mark Keeble, who's trying his hardest to catch up to Sean Jacobs in front as they head through the bottom end of the circuit here, heading up towards the final sector. About half a second between them. May see an overtake attempt happen shortly, even if an overtake is not completed. We'll head through up to the final turn once more, continuing to look at the gaps between drivers. Roy Magnoy trying to recover. He's in 24th actually. He did have a way back up the field, but he was moving well on the first lap, and then he was one of those few drivers, the 4 drivers I think it was, that were collected in that final corner incident on the opening lap. And I'm actually surprised it took a whole lap for that incident to occur. I was expecting it turn 1, turn number 2, sometime very quickly in the lap. They were able to hold it together all the way up until the final turn when the incident occurred, and Magnus trying to get up the inside there. As Magnus is looking for 23rd pass, Jeremy Brewer can't quite do it at the moment. Michael Wyatt looking to get back past Magnus Sunday. Sunday actually had that incident, obviously turn number 1, we don't know what happened, but he went straight on. And he's actually able to recover up to a top 20 at the moment, which is absolutely fantastically. Wyatt trying to get up the inside, looking for a way through. Can't quite do it. As Magnus actually goes off. Roy Magnus from 24th goes off, and Mark Keeble is now all over the rear of Sean Jacobs for second. He's not dropping off, he's not easing the pressure off at all. It's the Ford GT leading the Corvette. It's an extremely tense and close battle between those two at the moment in these opening stages of the race. And if they can keep it together, it'll work really well for both of them to battle for the remainder of this race. It'll interest things up for themselves and for us, and also a nice podium for the two of them. As it looks like we have another driver off us, Ovind Andersson, another new name for me. He's now down in 18th position, unfortunately, as he's gone off. I believe that was the final turn there. There's a little bit of a wobble from Sean Jacobs, and Mark Keeble looks for the inside. Can't quite make the move. As Mark Keeble trying to get up the inside of Sean Jacobs, they can't do it. He continues to run behind as they now head up once again to the banking of the left-handed corner. You can just see how much this corner banks now that you're on board. Look at that, absolutely amazing. Keeble able to keep it as close as possible. Steve Kenwood's trying to hold on to this battle, but he's about 1.5 seconds down, and he's really out of this battle really at the moment. Coming up through the penultimate corner, the long right-hander into the final corner now. 10 minutes down almost. And this battle for second, it remains very strong indeed. But Van Deutschmann has been able to pull away quite easily up front. And I believe we have a couple of retirements. Yes, we do. Jeremy Brewer and Nicholas Gregory both out of tonight's motor race. As, oh no, Alexander Anderson is off and wide through turn number 1. It's very easy to push it wide there. And unfortunately, Anderson has done exactly that. He's dropped it down to 9th position. But Calvin White is looking to get past Lars Johansson. And there's a little bit of contact, and no, Johansson's going to go completely off. Now Calvin White has been able to move up the position, up into P number 5. Calvin White gains that position onto contact with Lars Johansson. Johansson has been able to get back onto the circuit. No, he's facing backwards. And he reverses back on. He made sure no one was there. He moves to the other side of the circuit as he gets the car back straight again. He's now lost it down to P15 in tonight's race. It's a real shame. Also a real shame is Mark Keeble has lost it down to a second behind Sean Jacobs. As looking through now again, we remain rather close battles for the top 5. Sternbull is still about half a second between himself and Calvin White. So Calvin, he did start this race in 4th position. He's lost it down to 5th. Now he's about 8 seconds between himself and Steve Kenwood here. Ross Garland has had some sort of issue as well. He's now dropping down the order. Unfortunately, he's in 14th position now. Continuing to look at all the gaps. They're just rapidly changing at the moment. I don't know why, but something's happened because all the gaps are rapidly changing there as we look at Martin Fiala. He's about half a second off from Jazz Forsberg. There's incident up ahead. That was between Jazz Forsberg and I believe Lars Johansson. But some incident there up in front, and unfortunately it means that both those drivers are off to have Martin Fiala now up to the top 20. He's got Daniel Nito though all over his rear. He's going to look for the inside line into turn number 1. Is he going to be able to do it? They run extremely close side by side through turn number 1, and Fiala gives the position. He's not going to push too hard and he lets Nito through. They head down, you can see they're trying to get as much slipstream and also let the driver behind can't get the slipstream. But as you can see on the left hand side, pit stop stages have opened. Lars Johansson has already made his mandatory stop. He's already done an early stop, and no! That's a big mistake from Nito after being able to make the move through. He's now behind, and now he's got Magnus Sandoy all over the rear, and he's going to be able to move up the inside now. Sandoy is looking for 21st, can't quite do it. Running right behind for a 21st position. He obviously had that incident at turn number 1 on the opening lap. I don't know what happened, but he ran wide. There's a gap closing significantly between Steve Kenwood and Mark Keeble. Kenwood now all over Keeble. Keeble was originally battling with Sean Jacobs for second, but there's about 1.5 seconds between them now. Jacobs has been able to pull away from Keeble. Steve Kenwood though has been able to close the gap, and he's been reeling Mark Keeble in for the past couple of laps, and now it's going to be an overtake looming for Kenwood on Mark Keeble for a podium position as they head up to the through the middle sector, through the long left-hander here. So continue around. He's about 2 tenths behind. So we actually run on board with him now. You can see the gap between them. It increased slightly, but it was saying 2 tenths as they were coming on the braking. Through the long right-hander, who's going to get a better line? Mark Keeble this weekend with 2 British drivers here duking it out for a podium position. Keeble runs it slightly wide over the apex, ever so slightly, but Kenwood holds on onto the perfect racing line. And now Keeble runs it slightly wide, but is that the faster exit onto the long straight? It definitely seems so. But Kenwood is going to have the slipstream. And as you can see in the bottom now, that gap, it's closing. It's closing. Constantly closing as Kenwood gets closer, ever so close. So he's going to move to the left. Can't do anything. And once again, no overtake is going to be able to happen for Steve Kenwood, who's holding on to 4th position at the moment in tonight's race. Around. Daniel Chapp has now also made his mandatory stop. He sits in 21st position. The long right hander there, pushing it right to the apex. Goes Kenwood. He's still chasing down Mark Keeble for a podium in tonight's race. When will they come in for the stop? That is the question tonight. Because you can't really half 45 minutes to a nice 5-minute stop like you normally would do. If it's an hour race, you pit at the half an hour point. If it's a half an hour race, you pit at the 15-minute point. Can't really do that with a 45-minute race. Of course, you can pit at the 22.5-minute point. I don't think many drivers really think about that. Will they go for the pitting at the 30-minute mark, the 25-minute mark, the 20-minute mark? Which of those three will you pick? Will you pick even later? Will you pick maybe the 15-minute mark? I believe the window closes with 15 minutes to go. As we continue around at the moment, Steve Kenwood actually dropping off from Mark Keeble ever so slightly. Keeble once again into the position with Sean Jacobs, and it's now about only a second between them, so being able to close up. Pietro Blasicek though on the rear of Steve Legale. Steve Legale on the rear of Jose Paul Miranda. This is a 3-way tie for 9th position in the race. Jose Paul Miranda is in 9th, but that is a shame because Blasicek actually has dropped off after a mistake out of the first turn. Jose Paul Miranda though, he's got Steve Legale all over the rear, getting as much slipstream as he possibly can. Heading under braking now, 15 minutes down. 16 minutes down now, 29 minutes to go. Only Chapp and Johnson have made the Johansson, sorry. 1 minute. Yes, Johansson, I was just making sure I read that right. And Johansson have made their stop at the moment out of our 26 drivers. 2 retirements so far as well, Jeremy Brewer and Nicholas Gregory. So we're only 24 racing to still remaining in tonight's race. Johansson at the rear of the field with his pit stop, but in comes actually Sandoy now exiting the pit lane. He's now made his mandatory stop as well. Michael Wyatt, he's also in a 3-way tie. Ovind Anderson leads Michael Wyatt, who's leading Daniel Chapp. Daniel Chapp has obviously already made his mandatory pit stop, so he doesn't really want to get held up by traffic too much. Is he going to go for an overtake here? He moves to the outside line. It looks like he's going to attempt it. He backs out though, going under braking and maybe looking for a switch back on the exit. Can't quite do it. The banking just allows Wyatt to get the right line. And here comes Chapp again, looking for the inside once more. No overtake being made, but Wyatt wobbles it slightly, and here comes Daniel Chapp up the inside. He's going to be able to make that move. Wyatt, nothing he can do to hold the outside line, do such a long right-hander. Again, the camber at this circuit is absolutely fantastic. Chapp's now new target now will be Ovind Anderson in P number 16. Again, he just won't want to be held up by the traffic that has not yet done their stop. That's what you get for doing an early pit stop. Daniel runs it on the exit of the corner. He can't get the run. It looks like he's going to move into slipstream. Yes, he does. He gets as little slipstream as possible. He just wants to be able to make that move out, but can't quite get the speed. Under braking though, he has to remain behind at the moment on Anderson through the tight right-hander. Daniel Chapp remains in P number 17 at the moment. Here we go then, up to the long right-hand, well, one of the many long right-handers, attempting up the inside, the lovely banking, allowing him through on a lovely line, but can't get past the Ford. Is he going to try on the left-hander? coming up to the final sector. He is. He's going to be up that inside, but no, he just doesn't have the space on the inside. Anderson, there's contact, and oh, but what a hold! What a hold! Anderson is able to hold the contact. Daniel Chap allows him to gain a little bit of space with that as well. Anderson, that must be a lot of pressure, and that's definitely going to let him know that Daniel Chap is there. That's going to worry him a hell of a lot now. Coming through the right hand of Daniel Chap. Look at this, all over the rear. Anderson, he goes for the inside. He tries to go for the smallest gap possible. He's being really impatient tonight. But he can't make the move. He's going to have to remain in P number 17, but the battles continue here. And we're going to go have a little look at Steve Kenwood, who's all over the rear of Mark Keeble. And that's a battle. Once again, it's the battle for the podium. As Keeble once again has dropped off the Sean Jacobs, and Kenwood has been able to catch up to Keeble. So that's extremely close. We're going to continue to watch Daniel Chap here as he dives to the inside on the end of the long straight. Can't do anything. The rear end just kicking out. He continues to attempt to move up the order. He is really being held up by drivers not with the mandatory stop yet. But like I said, that is the issue. Doing an early stop is you are going to have to contend with the traffic from the people who are going to be going as late as they can on their pit window. And Chap though is looking for as much space as he possibly can get. Can't make the move at the moment. And Chap's all over the rear of Anderson there. About 3 tenths between them. They come under braking into the final sector. Will Chap go for the small move again, that small gap? And he is looking for the inside. And there's contact once more as Daniel tries to look for the inside through that panoramic corner. Like I said, Daniel being a little bit impatient in tonight's race, trying to move up the order. And he's going to do it again. No, he's not, but he's getting extremely close to Anderson. As I believe Jose Paul Miranda has done his mandatory stop as well. He's on the pit exit. Daniel Chap though looking to the inside on the exit of the corner. Can't quite do anything. There's Paulo Miranda coming out of the pit lane. So Daniel Chap currently still our leader of the drivers who've done their mandatory stop. Not too sure where he'll be once everyone pits. Daniel Chap though coming under braking is still right behind Anderson. There's a little bit of contact once again by the look of the two of them. Both of them holding on. Come through the mid part of this lap, and Daniel Chap looking for the inside, tucks it back behind, but you can see there's a whole train of cars here actually, because just behind this you've got Michael Wyatt trying to get involved, and then you've got Jose Paul Miranda just ahead of Marcin Frayela and Jazz Forsberg. So there's a whole load of cars here, but Daniel Chap goes for the inside as there's a spin in the background. There's a spin from I believe that was Jazz Forsberg. I'm not too sure though. But Daniel Chap still trying his hardest to get past Anderson, but cannot make the move. Here we go into the final couple of corners. Lights flashing from Daniel Chap. There's been a whole debate whether you're allowed to flash your lights when racing a driver to distract him. He moves to the outside. He can't hold the line, and he's going to have to recover from that, get back onto the track. He's now lost out about 2 seconds to Anderson, and he's actually going to be under attack by Jose Paul Miranda, who's also made that mandatory stop already. But yeah, like I was saying, it's been an already almost never-ending debate about flashing your headlights when racing a driver on our servers, and Daniel Chap using that, and it seemed to work well because it looked like Anderson was going really poorly into the final hairpin, but then suddenly it distracted Daniel more than anything. He wasn't expecting it, tried the outside line and just could not hold it. So unfortunately Daniel Chap is going to lose it down. He's going in P number 12, but looking to move up the order. Steve Kenwood still in third then. He's still trying to get past Mark Keeble, but once again the gap has opened between the two of them as actually fourth position has come in. He is the first of our front runners to come in. Alexander Anderson now on the pit exit. But Anderson remains in fourth. No, he just drops down to fifth. Sternberg gets past him. He hasn't lost too much time actually with that pit stop, as he comes around the long pit exit. And now onto the airstrip. He comes out of the pits in 6th. He's only lost 2 positions in that pit stop. Alex Schmerz also making a stop. Ross Garland also doing his pit stop. So most of our field have now done their pit stop. Actually, about half the field have done their pit stop, as we're about half of the way through. So actually they have gone and decided 22.5 minutes will pit around then, and it seems to have worked out for a number of drivers. We're just going to see what's going to happen though once everyone makes a stop. Daniel Trapp though has moved his way up into P number 9 with the mandatory stops, but he is running side by side with Anderson. What is going to happen coming down under braking? Trapp's going to hold his line. Anderson's going to try and hold it on the outside. They run side by side. Trapp's able to squeeze Anderson out just very slightly there. They continue around here. Up to the right, and it seems like Sean Jacobs is at the rear of the field for some reason. I think he's been disqualified. There's 2 minutes. It's showing a gap, which normally means that they've been disqualified. He's also behind the 2 already retired drivers, so I believe that's a disqualification there, unfortunately. Looking through the order then. And it seems like Ross Garland trying to get past Jose Miranda trying to get past Anderson. So it's sort of quite a close tie here at the moment. Steve Kenwood has made his stop. It looks like, yes, Steve Kenwood has made his stop. And so has Sven Duishman. Mark Keeble is the only one of the leading 3 to currently make their stop. He's now at the moment in the lead of tonight's motor race. But will he come into pit here this lap? He hits the brakes, but he continues on. Mark Keeble continues on in the race lead at the moment, leading a very nice race. It definitely looks like it's going to be handed to Sven Duishman. It looks like he's going to really be able to hold the lead in this race. There's some sort of issue happening. Jose Paul Miranda though chasing down Oyvind Anderson for P number 10. Miranda has stopped. Anderson has not still. And the champ up to P number 9 after being able to get past Anderson finally. As they continue along here. And it seems like what happened to Sean Jacobs was he forgot to enable pit limiter onto the way into the pit lane. And he sped in the pit lane, leading to a disqualification for him. Continuing around though, Jose Paul Miranda still trying to get past Anderson. Looks for the inside, Anderson on the outside line. Is he going to go into the pit lane? Hits the brakes. Yes, he does. He dives off. Anderson into the pit lane now then. Anderson up here though is Alexander Anderson running in 4th position. He's regained his 4th then after everyone else have gone in for their pits, but he is actually rather close to Steve Kenwood. Still yet to see Mark Keeble dive into your pit lane though. No, Mark Keeble is now in. So it's going to be interesting where he comes out compared to Steve Kenwood. So Mark Keeble has just pulled up in his box. Steve Kenwood coming up to the final corner. Final sector, sorry, not the final corner. Coming up to the final sector. Running into the final few corners. Where is Mark Keeble on the pit lane? He's already on the pit exit. Mark Keeble has done an amazing stop. An absolutely amazing stop there for Mark Keeble, because Steve Kenwood, look at this, only just coming up to the final corner. What a jump by Mark Keeble. What a jump. But it definitely looks like Steve Kenwood has lost a lot of time, because Anderson was, I think, maybe like 3 or 4 seconds down the road before that stop. So it looks like Kenwood has lost additional time as well, even without the amazing jump that Mark Keeble had there. As there's a lot of changing positions in midfield, and this is why Jose Paul Miranda is facing the wrong way in the final sector. He's trying to get the car back straight again. He gets it back onto the circuit, facing the correct direction. That BMW is going to be continuing to run again. The number 12, Jose Paul Miranda, running around, and he gets it through up to the final corner. One of our only close battles remaining after that who's pit stop stages. Steve Legale trying to chase down Ross Garland here. There's the issue with pit stops, actually. They do switch things up a little bit, and it seems to have lengthened out our field a little bit, split them up a little bit more. 16 minutes ago, so almost half an hour through tonight's motor race, and it's been really close up at the top half of the field with second and third position. But after the pit stops, Mark Keegan has been able to pull out, dominating 22-second lead over Steve Kenwood. So that's absolutely fantastic. I don't know how he's been able to do that. However, the gap between Sven Dushman and Mark Keegan has not increased following the pit stops, or not even decreased, I believe. It may have actually decreased a little bit. What was the gap? I think Keeble just had an amazing pit stop, and he's been able to gain through amazing time, as Lolo Stacco running at your rear of your field out of the drivers running. He's in 22nd position, chasing down Magne Sandoy, who's in 21st. Oh, but a big side by Stacco there, and he's going to spin it around along the main straight. Not what you want at the fastest part of the circuit. He's going to get it back though. Hopefully he's going to remain out of the way of any drivers that's coming. It seems to be like there is no one close though. There's a whole line of cars behind. I think that's actually, I'm not too sure who's leading that train of cars. It is Alex Schmertz leading that train of cars, because behind him, Ross Garland, half a second down. Half a second behind that, Steve Legale. A second behind that, Daniel Traps. We've got an almost four-way battle here for P number 7. And actually, in fact, that's Pietro Blasesac behind Daniel Traps. This is a 5-way battle here after the pit stop stages. And Blasesac is looking up the inside of Daniel Traps. Doesn't do anything there, though. He's going to remain in this order for now. Head through the left hand of that banked corner to head up to the final section. The only drivers remaining to do their mandatory pit stop. Daniel Nito currently in 15th position, and also Lolo Stacco, who's at the rear of your field already without that mandatory pit stop. Now I think Stacco's already driven into the pit lane. What we haven't seen is him do the required stop within that pit, which I believe is fill up at least 1 litre of fuel or change 2 tyres. I believe that is what the mandatory stops are. I cannot confirm that until someone tells me. I believe that's what it is. But anyway, in that pit lane, it seems like Stacco has not done what he's required to do. Daniel Nito, I think he's also come down pit lane. Again, not done what he's required to do. They may not realise that, which is why they're continuing to run, as we've had a little bit of a check-up here. The traffic jam, as that was Lolo Stacco getting in everyone's way, and it sort of caused a whole chain of events, and there's contact. Steve Legale has been put off the track after contact there. I'm not too sure who it was with. It was Pietro Blasesac. Blasesac has gained that position on Steve Legale following contact. Daniel Trapp is now all over the rear of Alex Schmertz, trying to get up into P number 8, trying to recover what has been a rather bad race for him. Into the final 12.5 minutes of tonight's event. It's been rather close for all of the drivers, specifically in your midfield, and Daniel Trapp still trying his hardest to gain up some positions here. He's currently in 9th overall. He's looking to gain up into 8th. And the final corner, he's been able to go on the inside and become the outside of Alex Schmertz, because Schmertz has run it wide and he tucks in, avoiding contact, running it nicely. A little bit of correction on the wheels. You can see they were pointing left there. And now they're heading along the very long straight. Alex Schmertz, though, all over the rear. He's going to look for the inside. Daniel Trapp's going defensive. There's contact.
They've both been able to hold it though. And now under braking. Tensions are really high with 11 minutes to go in this race. And that's what I mean by Blaszczak. I don't know what was going on in qualifying. He just wasn't trying to push too hard. Because he is now up to 10th in tonight's event. Looking to gain past Alex Merckx. Obviously there was contact with Steve Legale. There may have been something said over team speaks. I know Steve, once he gets hit, he normally tells drivers to continue on, saying don't worry about it. He's a rather kind gentleman. So that may have been what happened, which is why Pietro Blaszczak has continued to battle with these drivers and not allow Steve Legale through as Daniel Champ runs it wide. Alex Merckx is going to be all over the rear. Mandatory pit stops are done. But I did not see another stop by Stacko as here goes Schmerz up the inside of Trap. That's going to be the overtake. An amazing overtake by Schmerz. It's the first time I've actually seen an overtake there now. As they come through the final corner and into... Sorry, through the penultimate corner into the final corner. Daniel Chapp's got the inside of Alex Schmerz and he's back up to position. Schmerz is looking to get the outside. Maybe a little better run here. Just behind though, you've got Blaszczak maybe looking to get through once these drivers have stopped battling. And it looked like actually he was almost trying to get through there. But now the drivers, they've started to separate. But what is this long straight going to do? Is it going to close them up? 10 minutes to go. Pressure is high here. And a braking Schmerz looks like a really late break. Trying to close up as much as he can to trap both of them. Running slightly off the circuit there. As Blaszczak's disappeared in the background, Blaszczak is off. That's a real shame. He was really coming up in this race. He was up to P number 10, but now he's down to P number 12. After that, that's a real shame. Johansson actually battling with Steve Legale in the background there. So Lars looking to make a way through, but we're looking at Alex Schmerz. It looks like he's going to try maybe make another move back past Daniel Trapp. Up the inside goes Schmerz once more. He's going to leave as much room as he possibly can for Trapp. Trapp's been able to hold it up the inside. He's going to be able to confirm that move to hold it through the penultimate corner. Up to the final corner though. Will Schmerz go for a move back past Trapp? Into the final corner they go. Schmerz is having to hold it behind for now. Can't make that move. Don't worry, I'm also looking at the time between Johansson and Steve Legale. It's about the same it has been for a couple of laps now. Coming along, getting as much slipstream as possible. Moves to the left-hand side. That'll be the outside line, goes Schmerz. Daniel Trapp is able to hold the inside, but will Schmerz try to switch back? No, he doesn't. He has to drop behind. He actually loses a little bit of time. I don't know what on earth he was thinking, trying to move to the outside, but he did it. And he couldn't quite get the move confirmed, unfortunately. Continuing to battle here, though. Continuing through up to the final sector. 8 minutes to go. This battle for 8 is roaring on here. Alex Merckx trying his hardest to keep up and get back past Daniel Trapp, but Daniel Trapp actually starting to pull away very, very slightly. Lars Johansson, though, he's on the inside of Steve Legale. Under braking, it looks like he's going to be able to confirm it. Yes, he is. He gets a little bit of the apex. Steve Legale not defending too much, but he's been able to make that move through. Back onto this battle for P number 8. Alex Merckx, nothing he can do into the final corner, but if he can stay close enough along the main straight, there may be an overtake down that bottom end of the circuit. He had tried it on the outside last time. He attempted that move, but couldn't quite do it. Will he be able to make the move on the inside this time? He's going to try and get as much slipstream as he possibly can from Daniel Trapp along the main straight. Try to close it as close as he can. He's certainly not as close as he was last lap. So he's going to have to hold it there for now and remain in P number 9. There's a battle going on though at the rear for P number 17. It's Anderson leading Faela, leading Nato, leading Right Magnus here. They're sort of having a battle with 4th position of Alexander Anderson, trying to get through these back markers without too many issues, but not allowing him to do that. Through the final corner, Anderson's going to make the move up the inside, but for some reason, Anderson is trying to battle, but now he doesn't allow it, and that is Daniel Nido up the position. Actually, a little bit of contact, and there's continuing to be contact. No, Anderson, and he continues on once more. That's the second time Anderson has had contact this race and continued on regardless. That's a real shame there for Daniel Nito. Loses down the position. Daniel Trapp is being overtaken by Alex Schmerz, but through the penultimate corner they run side by side. Daniel Trapp back up the position into the final corner. He's able to defend it. Alex Schmerz trying his hardest to get back past. Can't do it. Only 5 minutes remain. Magne Sandoy moves out of the way there, making sure this battle is not held up in any way, and neither of the drivers are disadvantaged. Daniel Trapp remains ahead of Alex Schmerz, but Schmerz is now all in the slipstream, and he can try his hardest to make a way through. Slipstream along the straight. They're going to head down to the bottom end of the circuit. Under braking, Schmerz once again goes for the outside line. He's running it side by side. Daniel Trapp's able to defend it. Schmerz runs it off the circuit, and Schmerz once again holds on to 8th. I don't know why Alex Schmerz keeps on going for that move, but he runs it wide. He's off the circuit. No, he's lost it to over a second behind Daniel Trapp. The battle for P number 8 is over. Battle for P number 6, however, has only just begun. Ross Garland chasing down Magnus Sternbury here. That's for P number 6. Both of the drivers, Garland in an Alpina here and Sternbury in a BMW. Rather similar cars, if you ask me, and I can't really tell the difference between the two of them. They head through now the penultimate corner. Look at the different racing lines that drivers do, though. A much wider entrance by Garland, a much sort of tighter entrance by Sternbury. Through the final corner goes to number 1 of Ross Garland, trying his hardest to catch down to Sternbury, but Schmerz somehow has been able to recover back into a second of Daniel Trapp. I'm going to keep an eye on the times there and see if they close down to half a second. If so, we're going to go back and have a look at that battle once more. Continuing near the rear of the field, though, Anderson are going to get past Roy Magnus, no, because he's off. He's going to go back onto the circuit. He's going to try and stay ahead of Martin Fiala. He's able to do so. 4 minutes to go in this race, and Alex Schmerz has been able to close it to half a second behind Daniel Trapp. Daniel Trapp's seen it. Daniel Trapp has seen it. Alex Schmerz is off the track. He's been able to get it back through, but Daniel Trapp is off the circuit. Daniel Trapp, I can't see his name anymore. There it is. He's in P11. He's been able to get it back onto the circuit, but he's down to P number 11. Alex Schmerz into P number 8. That's a real shame. It's been a real recovery drive for Daniel, and unfortunately it's just not worked out for him. He's just pushing too hard as Schmerz was able to catch back up to him, using the slipstream along the main straight. Absolutely fantastic as Martin Fiala still behind Anderson here as they're coming along the straight. But this is a driver we've not talked about much this race. He's had an absolutely amazingly clean race. The only time he's been dropped out of that race lead is when he came into the pit lane to make his mandatory stop. That's amazing, and Daniel Trapp is going back to Pietro Blasicek and might be able to make the move, do the final corner, can't quite do it. Now that is a battle for P number 11, but yeah, Deutschmann has just been leading this race absolutely strongly from the start. Mark Hebel actually has been closing that gap though since the pit stop stages. It's not going to be enough with only 2.5 minutes to go. He's not going to be able to close 7 seconds. He has only been able to close maybe a second since that pit stop. Daniel Trapp using as much slipstream as he can on Blasicek. Heading down, he moves to the right hand side, the inside line, the much preferred line. Just strange why Alex Schmerz didn't make that move up the inside. Blasicek tries his hardest to hold it on the outside, can't do it, and Daniel Trapp up the position. Daniel Trapp up to P number 11. 6.5 seconds to see Vigale up the road. I don't think there's going to be an overtake there for a top 10 for Daniel Trapp. Blasicek trying his hardest to make a recovery move on Daniel Trapp, but can't make that move back. It looks like he's going to have to hold it with P number 12 in tonight's race at the moment. Daniel Nito He's been able to chase down Anderson. He's going to move to the outside. He's going to be able to hold it. The Corvette gets past the Ford, but actually that Ford slightly faster. The number 40, Anderson, running slightly faster than Nito, coming under braking. They're going to leave each other enough room, and this is a battle for P number 19. He is. Anderson holds 19. Nito's down to 20th here. Nito looks up the inside once more, can't quite make the move through over the apex. Both of them pushing as hard as they possibly can to get into 19th position. Ross Garland, P number 7, all over the rear of Magnus Sternberg, looking for P number 6 in the final minute of tonight's motor race. Can't make the move, and he stays behind for now. Steve Legale also about half a second down off of Lars Johansson, who's got a lot of damage on the front end of his BMW. Yeah, Steve Legale not able to close it down either. But this is the guy that's done an absolutely tremendous race. A faultless race at that, in fact. Sven Deutschmann, absolutely fantastic as we watch him come through on the final lap of today's race. Sven Deutschmann, pole position. He's led every lap apart from when he went into the pit stop, which I think that was only 4 or 5 laps of tonight's event. Coming up though, into the final sector for the final time. Tonight's event has ticked to a close. Sven Deutschmann comes through the penultimate corner. Absolute faultless race in his BMW. Tonight's GT3 race at Anderstorp. Through the final corner he goes. He's going to come across the line to take the victory. An amazing win for Sven Deutschmann. As he slides it across the line, slams into the wall on the inside. Amazing stuff. In second though, crosses Mark Keeble. In third, here is Steve Kenwood. He's still got the entire final sector to go. That just shows you how much Keeble gained in that pit stop stage. Absolutely fantastic race as Steve Kenwood comes to cross the line here. Absolutely amazing as I turn on Auto Director. Absolutely fantastic. Ross Garland though still chasing down Magnus Sternberg in this middle sector here. That's for P number 6. There's still some small battles going on, but Ross Garland almost a second behind Sternberg, not really going to make anything happen there. Martin Fiala, he crossed the line in 18th here. As you can see as our Auto Director just sticking across all the people, not realising that some of them have finished. Ross Garland though coming through. He's got Magnus Sternberg just in front. They were trying to gain the positions throughout most of that race, just weren't able to do it. And they're going to come home to cross the line in 6th and 7th position. 6th goes to Sternberg, 7th to Ross Garland. Still got, this is the last Johansson coming through the final corner. He was able to hold it ahead of Steve Legale, as we're almost going to get our race results up on screen. We'll see them very shortly. Deutschmann then took the pole, the win, and the fastest laps. Mark Keeble only 5.5 seconds down in the end. Keeble definitely was able to gain in that second stint. Kenwood finished in 3rd, followed by Anderson, and then Calvin White rounding out in top 5. Magnus Sternberg finished in 6th position, followed by Ross Garland in 7th. Johansson, Steve Legale, and Alex Mertz running out your top 10. Landon Trapp only just lost out to his top 10 by 3.5 seconds. Two Smertz in 11th. Blastersack finished in 12th position respectively. Jose Paul and Miranda in 13th, followed by Mike Wyatt, Montesino Jr., Jazz Forsberg, Roy Magnus, Martin Fiala, Nito Anderson, Sandoy Stacco, Jeremy Brewer. Sandoy was your final finisher. I was going to say that Jeremy Brewer was your first DNF, but it wasn't. It was Stacco, unfortunately, with the DNF. I don't think that he did do that mandatory stop that was required of him, but that has been tonight's event. An absolutely amazing race at that. It's been fantastic once again to bring you these RaceRoom races. If you did enjoy, be sure to hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button as well.
because we will greatly appreciate that, as we're just loading into another server here as we'll turn everything off. There we go. Lovely stuff. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. It's been an absolutely amazing race for all of our drivers. It's been absolutely amazing to bring it to you. If you did enjoy, be sure to, like I say, subscribe, hit that thumbs up button. Also, be sure to join us on these Sunday events. They are weekly. We do stream pretty much every single day, but if you enjoyed this one specifically, I am the most energetic person you will see on a Sunday evening. I don't know why, but I am. I am also probably really excited about the way that RaceRoom broadcasting overlay works, because it is by far the best in the business. Thank you very much for joining us here tonight, though. I hope you have enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Goodbye, and thank you very much.